At the scene of the medical dispute, my legs were covered in blood, while my fiancé was tightly protecting his first love in his arms. This time, I turned around and left, destroyed the wedding photos, and got on the train back to my hometown. All my friends advised Ryan to coax me back, saying, "Except for Nancy, who else could tolerate your bad temper for 10 years like a day?" But Ryan looked indifferent and said, "Since she was a child, her world has only revolved around me." She couldn't survive a single day without me, however. As days passed by, I never came back. Finally, Ryan got panicked, but he couldn't get in touch with me no matter what. Later, at a well-known photography exhibition, a work titled Rebirth attracted all the attention. Ryan, looking lost, pleaded with the photographer, "Please tell me, where is the girl in this photo?" Jonathan smiled slightly and said, "She's my new wife, of course, in our new house." When the medical dispute happened, I happened to be passing by and was accidentally injured by the broken glass by the troublemakers. A deep cut was made on my right leg, and it hurt like hell the moment the tissue touched it. I wanted to send a WeChat message to Ryan, asking him to pick me up and also get my stomach medicine, by the way. Just then, he suddenly showed up. He pushed through the crowded crowd and protected Dr. Yvonne, who was under siege, behind him. His face was solemn, regardless of everything. "Just try to lay a finger on her if you dare." Even after the security guards arrived and resolved the dispute, Ryan was still gently comforting the sobbing person in his arms. "Yvonne, don't be afraid. I'm here." The onlookers were talking among themselves, all saying that Dr. Yvonne was unlucky to encounter a medical dispute so soon after joining the hospital. They also said that she and her boyfriend really had a deep affection, and true love could be seen in times of trouble. Looking at the couple snuggling closely not far away, my lips opened and closed with difficulty, but no sound came out. It wasn't just because Ryan was my boyfriend of 10 years. It was also because the figure of Yvonne awakened my memories. 5 years ago, Ryan won the gold medal in the National Photography Competition with a photographic work. In the photo, a girl in a white dress was reaching out her hand to catch a blue butterfly in the sunlight. Her delicate side face completely overlapped with that of Yvonne in front of me. When a reporter interviewed him back then, curiously asking about the identity of the girl in the photo, Ryan didn't answer, but just smiled with a sense of loss. Time flew by, and now, it was me who hesitated to speak, but finally remained silent. Turning around, I threw the blood-soaked tissue into the trash can, and then, step by step, leaning on the wall, I went to the emergency room by myself. The screen of my mobile phone lit up. It was a WeChat message from Ryan. "I have to work overtime tonight. Don't wait up for me." That night, Ryan didn't come home. It wasn't until the next night that he came back, looking travel-worn, and hurriedly packed his luggage. "Nancy, a friend of mine is seriously ill and needs someone to take care of. I won't be coming home for the next few days." Watching him pick up his bag and about to leave without even looking back, I walked up to him. "Ryan, tomorrow is the day to pick up the wedding photos. Can't you pick them up by yourself?" He looked at me coldly. The mole of the corner of his eye, when illuminated by the light, no longer looked as affectionate and charming as it used to be, but instead seemed cold. "They're too heavy. I can't carry them." I tried to adjust my breathing, but I couldn't suppress the pain spreading in my heart. "Could you please go with me?" Seemingly annoyed by my persistence, Ryan raised his eyebrows. "Then we'll go in a few days. They're just a few wedding photos. What's the rush?" "Nancy, can't you be a bit more sensible? I've known Ryan since I was 6 years old, and we started dating when I was 18. Now, at 28, I knew Ryan too well." He was currently eager to rush to Yvonne's side. He wouldn't allow any obstruction. And what was reflected in those dark eyes was precisely my pale and wretched figure, along with my broken heart. So I slowly let go of my hand and stared at this man I had loved for so many years. "Ryan, let's break up." Hearing my words, Ryan sneered. "Nancy, you're really something. I'm just taking care of a sick friend. Do you have to be so hysterical and make a scene with me?" Before leaving, he gave me a final glance. "I heard that madness can be hereditary. You should go to a hospital to get checked someday." Those words were so cruel that I had to hold on to the cabinet by the corridor tightly to prevent myself from collapsing to the ground. The door was slammed shut, and my tears fell with the vibration. Drop by drop, they fell into the past events that had been silent for years, making me see my mother's desperate and crazy face again. My mother's illness wasn't congenital. She was driven crazy. She wanted to escape from Lishan village, but was caught by my father time and time again. He tied her up in the house and whipped her with a belt. As time went by, she gradually lost her sanity. Later, she kept crying out that she was in pain, that she was going to be strangled to death by the rope. I couldn't bear it, so when my father wasn't around, I cut the straw rope on her body with scissors. Mom, I know you're not having a good life here. You should leave quickly. Since I was a child, my mother had always disliked me. Every time she saw me, she would close her eyes in disgust. But that day, she stared at me for a long time in a daze, and then suddenly hugged me tightly. So tight that I could hardly breathe, but I didn't want to let go. I won't leave. I won't leave, she murmured in a daze, sobbing, and the tears that fell slid into my collar, burning hot. But you should leave. You must leave. That night, my mother really didn't leave. She stabbed my father to death with the scissors I found for her, and then committed suicide. Among the spittle of the villagers in Lishan village, 6-year-old me became a little crazy girl without parents. Only Ryan, who was 1 year older than me, gently touched my head and handed me a bowl of warm rice porridge. Nancy, don't be afraid. From now on, Big Brother will protect you. After that, he took me to his house for meals every day, helped me tighten the fence, and gave me the books he had read. Nancy, let's study hard and get into the city together so that we can be together forever. We grew up together, and I always believed his words without hesitation. But when I finally got into the city 1 year later than Ryan and went to look for him at the university, the star that had always shone brightly for me had already dimmed. Ryan had changed. He didn't like to smile anymore, and his expression was always indifferent. Occasionally, when he was lost in thought, there were emotions in his eyes that I couldn't understand. I thought he was sad about his father's death, and I clumsily comforted him every day. If I had known back then that he was suffering because Yvonne had gone to study in Europe, I don't think I would have agreed to be his girlfriend. Nor would I have wasted 10 years trying to warm a heart that couldn't be warmed. When I came back to my senses, I picked up the key that Ryan had dropped in the corner and walked into the study that he had never allowed me to approach. The edges of the photo album on the table were yellowish, obviously having been touched countless times. I opened it and flipped through the whole album full of Yvonne's photos, and found that Ryan had written labels beside each photo. It was recorded on them how he had fallen in love with Yvonne at first sight when he was 18 years old, and the pain of having to watch her leave the country. On this day, I lost my butterfly forever. During the 1 year that Ryan was in love with Yvonne, he had taken hundreds of photos of her. But during the 10 years that we were in love, he hadn't taken a single photo of me. Even when I accidentally touched his camera, he would get furious with me, scolding me for not knowing anything. Closing the door of the study, I transferred some money to the owner of the photo studio, asking her to destroy the wedding photos for me. In response to the owner's regretful inquiries, I only replied with a thank you emoji and then lowered my head to start packing my luggage. I had bought several large suitcases especially for the honeymoon trip planned after getting the marriage certificate next month, and now they all came in handy. Looking at the character Nan carefully written on the sticker of the suitcase, a bitter feeling rose in my throat. When I was a child, I once curiously asked Ryan what banging into the southern wall meant in the book. He pinched my nose with a smile and said, "It means doing something really silly and not knowing how to correct the mistake." Our Nancy shouldn't learn that. This moment, the childish words from years ago had come true. Walking out of this house that had been carefully decorated for a long time, I softly said goodbye. I was also making my final farewell to the past 10 years, since I knew it was a southern wall I should have turned back long ago. When I submitted my resignation to the company, my supervisor tried to persuade me to stay. "Nancy, your work performance has been excellent in recent years. I was planning to promote you to be the department head early next year." Seeing that I was determined, she could only sigh and say it was a pity. But I didn't think it was a pity. Actually, I had never liked the prosperous but cold watching. I didn't like the hurried steps in the subway. If you were a bit slower, you would be squeezed to the point of suffocation. I also didn't like running around on unknown roads day and night, so tired that it felt like I had lost my soul. Now that I could finally leave, I only felt that my breathing became much easier. I planned to go back to my hometown to take my mother's ashes and find a peaceful and quiet city to bury them. After that, I would also stay there to enjoy the vast sky and the changing clouds. Just as I got on the train, Ryan called. Before I could say anything, he asked impatiently, "Nancy, didn't I ask you to keep an eye on the maintenance worker to fix the water heater these past few days?" The entrance of Yvonne's house was splashed with paint by the people causing the medical dispute. I brought her back to stay for a few days, but now there's no hot water. He was rummaging through the wardrobe when he realized something was wrong. "Where are your clothes?" "Nancy, we've broken up. I'm planning to leave Wancheng." Suddenly, a white mist enveloped the surroundings. I calmly looked out of the train window and said, "I sent you a WeChat message a few days ago." "Nancy, don't be childish." Ryan seemed to be suppressing his anger. Yvonne has encountered such a big trouble. As a friend, I just want to help her. At this moment, a soft and innocent female voice came. "Ryan, is it because of me that you had a fight with your girlfriend? I can explain it to her. It's okay. She's just a girl who likes to throw tantrums." When facing Yvonne, Ryan was incredibly gentle. "Yvonne, wait for me outside, be good." As soon as the door closed, his tone became cold and stiff again. "Nancy, when on earth are you coming back?" "I'm not coming back." Hearing that affectionate "be good" that could drown a person, the tiredness in my heart surged again. Countless springs, summers, autumns, and winters had passed. The long years that I once thought were precious could never compare to the short stay of that butterfly. The maintenance receipt of the water heater is in the drawer in the living room. Don't contact me again in the future. After hanging up the phone, I tried hard to blink my sore eyes and swallowed back the tears. When I turned around, I saw a young man standing at the entrance of the carriage, looking at a loss. "Sorry, did I disturb you?"
No.
Probably because I was on the phone. He hadn't brought his luggage in yet. To avoid embarrassment, I lowered my head to deal with the wound on my right leg that had split open suddenly. A bottle of iodine tincture came into view. "Let me help you." The man had clear and bright eyes, with the corners slightly drooping, looking innocent and cheerful. After dealing with injuries for so long, I'd become something of a doctor. I run around all year round, and I can handle this kind of wound even with my eyes closed. As if afraid that I wouldn't believe him, he even put his press card in my palm, blinking his beautiful eyes. "Tio, make it more believable. I'll leave this with you as collateral." Jonathan wasn't lying. He skillfully disinfected my wound and put on a gauze, which took only a few minutes. The journey was long. After learning that he was also going to Lishan village, we started chatting. It turned out that 4 years ago, Jonathan's cousin had disappeared unexpectedly. Later, her family members inquired around and finally learned that she was most likely abducted to Lishan village. With this slim clue, Jonathan decided to go there first to check the situation. It was my sister's 18th birthday on the day she was abducted. Our whole family had planned to celebrate for her, but we only found a school bag dropped at the entrance of the alley. When those clear eyes were tinged with melancholy, they were like glass in the rain and fog, making me think of my mother's hoarse and sorrowful shouts when I looked at them. The terrain of Lishan village is complex, and it's easy for outsiders to get lost. As if having made up some kind of determination, I said, "When we get there, I'll go with you to look for her." When Ryan called again, I was queuing up to get hot water on the train. "Nancy, where did I put my stomach medicine?" His voice was hoarse and trembling, as if he was suffering from unbearable stomach pain. "It's in the cabinet on the upper right corner of the kitchen." I helplessly clenched the thermos cup. "Ryan, your house is only 70 square meters. It's not that big that you can't find a bottle of medicine. Or you can hire a nanny.
Just don't contact me again. Nancy."
I haven't seen you for a few days, and your temper has really gotten worse. Obviously, without me, you couldn't even check in your luggage. How dare you play this game of running away from home? That year when I graduated from university, Ryan finally agreed to take me on a trip to an island. I had done all the preparations carefully, wanting to create beautiful memories with him. I was so excited that I couldn't sleep the night before the trip. But since I had never taken a plane since I was a child, when I was looking for the check-in counter at the airport for the first time, I accidentally went in the wrong direction. That day, Ryan left me there with a gloomy face, canceled the plane tickets, and left the airport without looking back. Embarrassing. Those 2 words he threw out still lingered in my head until now. Now that I think about it, probably my clumsiness was in contrast to the elegant departure of Ivan in his memory. Although I later worked hard and took care of his daily life, in his eyes, it was just a laughable imitation. At this moment, Ivan's gentle and lovely voice came through the receiver again. "Ryan, I've made you a cup of coffee. Remember to drink it." Okay. Even when Ryan had a stomach ache, drinking a sip of coffee would cause him severe pain, but for the sake of taking care of Yvonne's feelings, he was willing to endure it. I sneered and was about to hang up the phone. Just then, the person next to me had just got the hot water but accidentally dropped the cup that wasn't tightened properly. I subconsciously moved back, but in the midst of the exclamations, I was protected in someone's arms. "Are you okay? Did you get burned?" Jonathan looked at me anxiously. "I'm okay." Seeing that the back of his sweater was soaked by the hot water, I said anxiously, "Let's go. I'll take you to the train attendant's office to get some medicine." Suddenly, a low and angry question came from the phone that hadn't been hung up. "Nancy, who is that man next to you?" After getting the burn ointment and returning to the carriage, as if afraid that I would feel guilty, Jonathan smiled casually. "Don't look so apologetic. I just happened to be passing by. If you really feel bad about it, could you please apply the medicine for me?" Looking at Jonathan taking off his black turtleneck sweater, revealing his red and burned back, I turned my head away and picked up a cotton swab, pretending that I wasn't embarrassed. It wasn't until he hissed in pain that I opened my mouth nervously. "Does it hurt a lot? Should I get you a clean towel to bite on?" Jonathan burst out laughing. "That won't be necessary. I'm not undergoing the 10 great tortures." Seeing my silence, he turned his head to look at me. "Actually, I just wanted to tease you a bit to make you feel better. Seems like I've made it worse instead." His tone was so gentle and cautious that it made my heart feel sour for a moment. "Jonathan, I'm sorry about what just happened." "Nancy, it's just a trifle." Jonathan sat up, looking gentle. "I don't want you to feel guilty for such a small kindness." With that, he handed me a red apple. "Happy Christmas Eve. May Nancy's days in the new year be gentle and worry-free, with a peaceful and joyful heart." When I looked up in a daze, I noticed that snowflakes were falling outside the window. So, unconsciously, it was winter again. After not coming back for many years, the roads in Lishan village had been rebuilt and were no longer as bumpy as before. After settling Jonathan and the luggage at my home, I went to see Ryan's mother first. "Nancy, why are you back?" Ryan's mother greeted me with a big smile and quickly pulled me into the house. "You two are really something. You didn't even tell Auntie in advance that you were coming back." Then she realized that Ryan wasn't following behind me. "That rascal Ryan didn't come back with you? He's really something. He's almost getting married, yet he doesn't know how to cherish his wife." Ryan's mother sighed and stroked my cheek. "Nancy, why have you lost so much weight? Did Ryan bully you? Tell Auntie everything. Auntie will stand up for you." Facing this person who had doted on me since I was a child and raised me, I managed to speak with difficulty. "Auntie, Ryan and I broke up." Ryan's mother opened her eyes wide in disbelief and grabbed my hand tightly. "How could you break up?" "Nancy, tell Auntie. Did Ryan have a fight with you? Auntie will apologize to you on his behalf. Forgive him this time, okay? You two grew up together and went through thick and thin. Just when life was about to get better, how could you separate?" I couldn't answer any of these questions. All I could do was hold her warm hands tightly and hold back my tears with all my might. "Annie, there's no possibility for Ryan and me anymore. Thank you for taking care of me since I was a child. I've always been grateful. Here's some money I've saved. Since Uncle is no longer with us, You have to take good care of yourself. I tried to stuff the bank card back into my hand, but Ryan's mother shook her head with red eyes. Silly girl, it's not easy for you to make a living in the big city. How could Andy take your money? For so many years, it was you who took care of Ryan's filial duties. You'd come back to this remote village to see me every now and then. Even when I was sick, it was you who took me to the clinic. By the end of it, Ryan's mother was crying uncontrollably. Even if you didn't say it, Andy knew that it must be Ryan who broke your heart. You're so nice, but why doesn't he know how to cherish you? I choked back my sobs and hugged the person who was getting older in front of me. Just like when I was a child, I buried my head in the crook of her neck and called softly, "Mom, I'm sorry, silly girl. It's Mom who should be sorry." Before leaving, I filled the water tank and the rice barrel in Ryan's mother's yard and went to repair the fence. At this time, Jonathan, who had been waiting outside the yard, took the pliers from my hand.
Let me do it. Can you?
I stared blankly at the city dweller wearing a bright yellow hoodie and light blue jeans. Actually, no. Jonathan blinked like a child.
But you can teach me.
Let the tutorial begin, Miss Rabbit. 29? Your eyes are always red and you love eating apples. If you're not a rabbit, what are you? You talk too much. Here, cut this side. I couldn't help but laugh and started to guide Jonathan. He was very diligent. Not only did he repair the fence and the roof for Ryan's mother, but he also replaced the old and loose rope at the wellhead. Looking at this young man who was busy here and there, Ryan's mother couldn't help but sigh. If only Ryan could be this sensible. Jonathan seemed to notice something, but never asked further. It wasn't until I accompanied him to inquire about information on the west side of the village that he asked, "You won't come back here again, will you?" I nodded and looked at a house with its windows nailed shut. A suspicion flashed through my mind, and I greeted the passing villagers with a smile. "Aunt Zhang, wasn't that Li Bo's house before? Why is the yard so empty?" "Oh, Li the eldest died of illness a few years ago. His newly married second brother and sister-in-law moved in." "Where did they move from?" "His brother is from Ilian village. As for the sister-in-law," Aunt Zhang looked at me, and her expression was a bit complicated for a moment.
"We don't know about that."
"Don't go prying into it. That Li too has a really bad temper." After Aunt Jean walked away, Jonathan looked solemn. In the information provided by the private detective, the address of Ilian village was there from the very beginning. I suspect that it was this family who abducted my sister. "Don't rush. Haven't you been in contact with the police? Provide them with the address information here first." I grabbed his arm to prevent him from rushing in impulsively. The folkways here are tough. If there was a real fight, Jonathan would be the one to suffer. Unfortunately, the sudden hail made the roads muddy and difficult to travel on, slowing down the steps of the criminal police. After waiting for a day, Jonathan asked me to stay at home while he went to have a look around Li's house. I was worried and followed him. At dusk, the door of Li's house was still tightly closed. Just as we were about to leave, suddenly, we heard a suppressed female cry. Gradually, the cry became shrill. "Let me go home. I want to go home." Slap. The man cursed harshly. "What home? You were bought by me. You'll die here even if you have to. I'll beat you until you behave today." The familiar conversation unearthed the deepest fear in my heart. Once upon a time, my mother was abused like this by my father. That black belt smeared with flesh and blood still appears in my nightmares. Jonathan couldn't hold back anymore and banged on the door of Li's house with force. When the man in the house appeared shirtless, Jonathan punched him to the ground. "You bastard, Yuri, a fucking bastard fuck, who are you?" The man spat out the blood in his mouth. Before he could get up, he was pinned to the ground by two arriving criminal police officers. "Ming, there's been a public report that you are involved in a case of abducting and trafficking women. Please come back to the police station to assist us with the investigation." "What abducting and trafficking women?" Ming struggled hard, with a sneer on his face. "Can the police just break into private houses? Do you have evidence? Public report? Don't think I'll believe such a cheap trick." "Wait, you. What are you going to do?" Looking at the axe in my hand, Ming's unrepentant face suddenly changed color. I remained silent and walked straight to the locked room. raised the axe high, and struck it down with all my strength. Ah! The girl inside screamed and huddled in the corner, covering her face full of bruises in panic.
Don't hit me. Please don't hit me.
I put a piece of clothing on her naked body and gently wiped away the tears sliding down her neck. It's okay. Don't be afraid. No one will hit you anymore. The girl slowly let go of her hands and stared at me with a silly smile. Can I go now? Yes, you can go now. I wanted to smile back at her, but for some reason, I just burst into tears. Watching Chinyuaning's parents get out of the police car and rush to their daughter, watching the three of them crying and hugging each other, my tears never stopped. When I turned around, I was embraced by a warm body.
Cry.
It'll be better if you cry it out. Jonathan gently patted my back. I grabbed his clothes tightly, and the tears that I had been holding back finally burst out. That year, I wanted to save Mom. I couldn't save her. Jonathan, I couldn't save her. Nancy, it's not your fault. The corners of Jonathan's eyes were red. He held me tighter with pity. That night, I forgot how long I had been crying. I only remembered waking up the next day feeling dizzy and seeing a warm egg placed on my eyelids. Put this on for a while, little rabbit. Jonathan was squatting beside the bed, with a smile in his clear eyes. I also smiled, feeling lighter than ever before. At the same time, Ryan was restless because of a phone call. Mom, what's wrong? What's wrong? You ask what's wrong. You rascal. You broke up with Nancy and didn't even tell me? Did she come to complain to you? Ryan rubbed his temples irritably. Mom, a friend of mine is in trouble and emotionally unstable. I just wanted to help her. Who would have thought that Nancy would go crazy and insist on breaking up with me? Don't worry. She'll come back obediently in a couple of days. I know her well. After hearing his words, Ryan's mother sighed deeply. Ryan, it's Mom's fault for not admonishing you in time all these years. Nancy has been with you and taking care of you for 10 years like a day, always gentle and considerate.
But what about you?
Have you been nice to her? That time when you two came back for the Chinese New Year, just because you weren't satisfied with the dishes she cooked, you gave her a cold shoulder at the dinner table and said she was clumsy. Although she was still smiling at that time, I knew she was feeling bad. Even on a day of family reunion, you could treat her like that, let alone on ordinary days. Hearing his mother's aged sigh, Ryan cleared his throat uncomfortably. But if our family hadn't taken care of her since she was a child, she would have starved to death long ago. So what? You want her to repay your kindness by torturing her? Ryan's mother's voice rose in anger. Back then, our family just shared an extra meal with her. The money for her schooling was all saved up by her, a little girl, with great hardship. And your house, the money for my medical treatment, all had her share. Ryan, you're so ungrateful. You'll regret it sooner or later. By then, make sure you don't cry. After being hung up on by Ryan's mother, Ryan sat on the sofa in a daze. At this time, his friend also called to ask if the location of the photography exhibition had been finalized. Before, it was always Nancy who took care of everything for you. You, the big master, didn't care at all. I heard you two are breaking up? Well, hurry up and coax the girl back. Except for Nancy, who else could tolerate your bad temper for 10 years like a day? This time, Ryan finally decided to call Nancy again. As long as she came back obediently, he could overlook the matter of that strange man. But the phone couldn't be dialed through anymore. Nancy, where on earth are you? After sending this message, he realized that even his WeChat had been blocked by Nancy. Nancy, find your something. If you have the guts, don't come back for the rest of your life. Just as Ryan threw his phone onto the sofa, the bathroom door opened and Yvonne walked out with a light laugh. Ryan, did you make breakfast? Sorry, I forgot. Photographers have irregular schedules. Ryan had been used to having the meals made by Nancy on the table as soon as he got up. He had never even entered the kitchen in all these years. It's okay. Then take me to work. Yvonne lazily curled her hair with her hand, and her smile faded. With that, she pushed the door open without waiting for Ryan's response. Hurry up. I'll wait for you downstairs. Looking at her delicate and slender back, Ryan slowly stood up, but the gentle, smiling eyes appeared in front of him. Ryan, remember to take your stomach medicine before going to the studio. 1 year later, Jonathan was invited to participate in a photography exhibition in Wancheng. Honey, come with me, okay? Jonathan stared at me eagerly, looking even more pitiful than the schnauzer in my arms. No, I'll stay to take care of Snowball. I shook my head and continued to pet the warm little dog in my arms. I shouldn't have brought Snowball home in the first place. Lying on my lap with a pout, with it around. My wife doesn't love me anymore. Then you have to remember to watch the live broadcast, or I'll be even more sad. Okay, I'll watch it. I lowered my head to kiss Jonathan's cheek, promising again and again. Rather than not wanting to accompany Jonathan to deal with those interviews, it was more that I was tired of the place called Wancheng. I didn't even want to set foot there again. However, I didn't expect that Ryan would show up at the exhibition site. He stared blankly at the familiar silhouette in the rebirth photo and excitedly grabbed Jonathan's arm. You know the girl in the photo, right? Tell me, where on earth is she? The reporters looked at each other in confusion for a moment, but the live broadcast to me and didn't stop and was right in front of my eyes. Jonathan, however, remained calm and stared deeply at the work behind him. My new wife, of course, is in our new house. With that, ignoring Jonathan's lost look, he continued to smile and said to the reporters, when taking this photo, the village we were in had just gone through a hailstorm. It was freezing cold. But looking at her smile and hearing her say to me that she had finally welcomed a new life, I felt warm from the bottom of my heart, like a nearly frozen person who had finally found his own spark of fire. Actually, I never told her that that day was also my new life. Because of her, I finally experienced the beauty of being alive and began to sincerely fall in love with life. When facing the camera, Jonathan smiled a bit shyly, looking adorably warm. Honey, thank you. I love you so much. The schnauzer in my arms let out a soft whine, and I came to my senses, feeling moved and wanting to laugh and cry at the same time. I almost forgot about the flustered figure in the video. After giving their blessings to Jonathan, the reporters couldn't help but start questioning Ryan. Mr. Bye, we heard that you have been losing streak since a year ago and haven't been shortlisted for any mainstream photography exhibitions anymore. Would it be convenient for you to disclose the reason? After turning off the live broadcast, I didn't look at Ryan's tired and haggard face anymore. I opened my phone to send a message to Jonathan. Unexpectedly, he was one step ahead of me and sent a meme of a puppy asking for praise. Snowball, what should I do? Dad is even more coquettish than you now. I smiled and stroked the furry little head in my arms, feeling warm and at ease in my heart. A few days later in the evening, after having some wine, I insisted on picking the phoenix flowers under the eaves. Jonathan had no choice but to squat down, hold my waist helplessly and dotingly, and lift me up. Honey, did you ever play a game when you were a child? What game? I held onto his shoulder with one hand and reached for the bright red flower with the other. It's the game of riding a big horse. Jonathan playfully swayed his body and pinched my waist, making me laugh so hard that I was almost in tears. Jonathan, stop teasing me. Where am I teasing you? I'm just playing a game with you. Suddenly holding me in his arms, Jonathan kissed my cheek with a smile. Honey, your eyes are still red when you're drunk. You still look like a little rabbit. Then what are you? A puppy? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry and reached out to touch the tip of his ear. When I inadvertently looked back, I saw a figure slowly approaching not far away. Why is he here? Jonathan's expression turned cold as he protected me behind him. He's been pestering me to ask about you since the day of the photography exhibition. I was being nice by not punching him. I gently held Jonathan's arm to comfort him. It's okay. I'll go and have a few words with him and come back. Then I'll wait here. If he dares to touch you, I'll beat him to death today. Okay, pet the puppy to calm down. Don't be angry. I ruffled Jonathan's bangs and turned around to face Ryan, the most familiar stranger. He looked even more haggard than in the live broadcast video. It had only been a year since we last met, but he seemed to have aged several years. Nancy, I've been looking for you for so long. Ryan's voice was extremely hoarse. So you're here? I looked at him indifferently, without any expression. Ryan, we've already separated and each have a new life. There's no need for you to look for me. I wasn't good enough to you before, Nancy. Believe me, I really know I was wrong. Ryan, don't be like this. Looking at the red eyes of the man in front of me, I took a half step back. Our story is long over, but I can't get over it. Ryan took a deep breath bitterly. We grew up together. You've long become the most important part of my life. I can't live without you. At first, I thought you'd come home soon, but later I couldn't get in touch with you anymore. I was really worried sick. I went to your company and asked your friends and colleagues, but they all said they didn't know where you were. Then I remembered that we hadn't picked up our wedding photos yet. I rushed to the photo studio, but the owner told me that the photos had already been destroyed. When he looked up again, Ryan's tears fell. Nancy, I know I was terribly wrong. Can you give me another chance? I really will make you happy. I quietly looked at the man in front of me who was crying like a child and raised my right hand to show him the diamond ring on my ring finger. But Ryan, I don't need anything from you anymore. Once I didn't understand why you cherished the 1 year with Yvonne more than our 20 years. But now I understand. Looking at Jonathan, who was waiting for me not far away, and then looking back, there was only relief in my eyes. When you meet the right person, spending a moment together is better than thousands of days apart. No, it's not what you think between Yvonne and me. Ryan shook his head bitterly. She was being harassed by the people causing the medical dispute and was on the verge of an emotional breakdown. I was just worried about her and stayed by her side for a while. Once I also thought I loved her deeply, but later I realized that the person I've always loved is you. So all that lingering on was just because of reluctance? I laughed out loud at the absurdity. Love whoever you want, Ryan. Anyway, your cheap feelings have nothing to do with me anymore. Don't come to bother me again in the future, or I'll call the police. You know I mean what I say. When I was about to walk away, Ryan called out to me with a trembling voice. Nancy, I know you won't forgive me, but could you let me take a photo of you? The wedding photos are gone and can't be retrieved. I just want to take a photo of you as a souvenir.
Please, okay?
This time, I didn't look back.
No.
Because you don't deserve to keep me, not even in a photo. When Jonathan pulled me into his arms, I heard uncontrollable crying from behind. Jonathan was afraid that I would look back and nervously covered my eyes. Don't look at him. He's like a stray dog. Husband, where's my phoenix flower? Tomorrow, husband will pick it for you personally, okay? He coaxed me into the house. Jonathan was afraid that I would stay outside for one more second. I'll pick a whole bottle for you. Oh no, a whole big basin. Silly you. Of course not silly. Otherwise, how could I have married you? Holding me from behind, pressing his cheek tightly against the side of my neck, Jonathan's voice was muffled. Nancy, don't leave me and Snowball. We can't live without you. With that, he gently tapped Snowball's nose, making Snowball let out whines. Look, Snowball says the same. Okay, I will never ever leave my two puppies. I could hardly hold back my laughter and kiss Jonathan on the cheek, sealed with a kiss as proof. Now I have welcomed a new life, and I will cherish every day. 1 year later, Ryan went to visit his hospitalized mother in the hospital. Before reaching the door of the ward, he heard Yvonne's impatient voice. Auntie, I'm just your son's girlfriend, not his maid. How would I know where he is now? Enough. Don't give me that look. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be able to get a single bed ward. Rural people are just so unreasonable. What a nuisance. With that, Yvonne pushed the door open arrogantly on her high heels, gave Ryan a cold glance, and left without looking back. Mom, sorry I'm late. He put the food he bought on the bedside table and looked at his mother's face, which was emaciated due to her serious illness. Ryan felt extremely guilty. In a heavy sigh, Ryan's mother closed her eyes, and a tear fell from the corner of her eye. Son, you hurt Nancy for a woman like this.
You.
Slowly putting down the towel in his hand, Ryan's heart ached like being pricked by needles. I deserve it for the rest of my life. As soon as he got together with Yvonne, Ryan regretted it. The endless quarrels and the contempt in Yvonne's eyes made him miserable. He couldn't even pick up his camera anymore. Because once he saw the camera, he would remember his 18th year that he regretted for the rest of his life, and how the butterfly had become hideous and cruel, tearing apart all his illusions. When he burned all the photos he had taken of Yvonne, Ryan drank bottle after bottle of wine. He found that there was one advantage to drinking, which was that he could fall asleep. Otherwise, the long nights were so unbearable that he always stayed awake until dawn. He hated himself. He had been with Nancy for 20 years, but he hadn't even left a single photo. He could only look at the secretly taken rebirth photo day and night, looking at the smile that she didn't show for him. His heart ached again and again, as if dying. Until later, Ryan even drove on the road in the early morning after drinking all night. He also wanted to see the sunlight of a new life and wanted to know why Nancy smiled so beautifully and relieved. Ryan, we'll both go to study in the city in the future, so we can be together every day. Ryan, will you be nice to me? I will, Ryan murmured, desperately chasing after her. Nancy, I will be nice to you for the rest of my life.
I swear.